Hi, my name is MIM. I'm going to be talking about my most important memory, which is the death of my grandparents. It really did happen like so suddenly, but it really did impact me, and it really did shape me and how I turned out. Their deaths like made me realize that I really had such a naive perspective on life, and it made me realize I did have an obsession with reading. So it first started out with I remember it was 2021, it was during Zoom, and I remember being on Zoom for French class, and we were playing Block It. It's a online game. And I remember after that we were taking notes on vocabulary when my mom came up to me and told me that my grandma passed away. And honestly, I didn't really know how to feel about that, just because I was in class and like I don't really know what, I just was in so much shock. And then a few hours later, I was doing homework and she came up to me again telling me that my grandpa passed away the same day. And I remember that we left our house, we got in the car, and we went to my aunt's house, where most of the family who lives in California gathered. We were talking not only about their deaths, but what we were going to do. I don't really remember crying. I think I was still in too much shock. It was kind of too much for me, so I didn't really know how to react, but I remember hearing a bunch of people being sad and crying and wishing this never happened. So that was the event that occurred, and now I'm going to talk about how it affected my life. So I remember that I was kind of lonely. I didn't feel like I had anyone to talk to, and I just felt like no one was there for me. It was COVID, and I didn't have friends at that time, and obviously social distance and all that, I couldn't reach out to anyone, I couldn't go out anywhere. And my family is not really the type to share feelings, so I was just kind of keeping to myself. But I remember one day I was cleaning just as a way to distract myself from my thoughts, and I found a bunch of books, old books that I used to read in middle school, and I remember liking them, but honestly, like, I'm not a fan of reading, so I didn't think of it as a coping mechanism at the time. But a few days later, I did give it some thought, and I decided to try reading. And reading, at first I hated it, just because I grew up just not liking reading. I never read anything really, and I was just forced to read most of the time, so it just made me hate it more. But because at the time I was lonely, I needed a coping mechanism, I needed something to just distract myself, I found that I really liked reading. And there were a lot of different genres that I read and I was able to explore. And reading the different genres and how these characters went through similar deaths like I did helped me realize that, like, you're going to eventually go through that too. Like, at some point in your life, you're going to go through that. And I just think, like, it helped me realize that my perspective on life was very naive. I just thought I was perfectly safe, like my family was safe, and obviously that's not true, and I had to learn that the hard way, but I'm really glad I did. So I just talked about how my obsession with reading, as a result from the death of my parents, helped me grow out of my naive outlook on life. And death, honestly, is really a sad thing, but in this case, to me, I kind of see it as something positive, just because it helped me grow as a person. And if I still had that naive outlook on life, I think I really would be a different person than I am today. I didn't expect my school day in 2021 to go the way it did, but in some way I am kind of glad that it did go that way, just because it did help me become a better person. It shaped me for the better. Yes, it's sad, but honestly, like, it really did impact me, and it changed me as a person. Thank you.